and I'm feeling good.
From the Wall Street Journal on July 27th, a Texas preacher is leading the campaign to let Israel fight. Mr. Hagee draws evangelicals by arguing that Jewish state fulfills biblical prophecy. Quote, end of world as we know it.
Oh, great. Good.
Washington.
That's a worthy goal to work for.
Excellent, yes. It's all falling into place.
See, this stuff all irritates me because I understand that it's biblically supported, just like a lot of other lunacy that we see.
Right.
But if you're willing to be supportive of this in the hopes that, you know, the apocalypse occurs and the resurrection happens, if you're just pushing towards this ultimate goal of going to heaven, then kill yourself. Have other people. If you're Catholic, obviously suicide's a mortal sin.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily a mortal sin in others. So if you follow to the logical conclusion, you know, Jamestown was the most efficient route to heaven. And this woman who was recently...
Jonestown.
Did I say Jamestown?
Yes.
Okay, well, Jamestown was maybe a route to heaven, too. I don't know.
Jamestown
was a pit stop. It was where they had the restrooms on the side of the road on the way to Jonestown.
Well, I think Jamestown is in America and Jonestown is in Africa.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm sure you could have a pit stop there while boarding the ship.
But like this woman who was recently found not guilty by reason of insanity because she killed her kids.
Yes.
If you're a true Christian,
Susan Smith, was it? Or Andrea Yates?
I think
one of those Christian women who killed their kids.
I don't know.
Every time I hear someone killing their kids, I'm like,
the court found that God did not tell her what to do.
How long before she mentioned?
How they determine that, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a good question.
If you think about it, regardless of what Christian religion you follow, there is this idea that children, infants, who haven't reached the age of reason, get a free pass to heaven. So if your true concern is ensuring that your children go to heaven, killing them is the best possible thing you can do.
Yeah, one might argue that it's the ultimate selfless act, because you might actually, for all you know, be headed to hell for that, but you're sending your kids.
You might be in hell, you might spend the rest of your life in prison, but you have saved your children from hell, because allowing them to grow up includes a lot of risk of them rejecting.
Right.
People go to college and fall away from God, Matt.
Yeah, well...
It wasn't college for you, but...
It was a rough equivalent.
Yeah. If only your mom had killed you in infancy, you'd be in heaven.
See, my mom really loved me. She just put a bullet in my head when I was about 1.
And heck, even Catholics can do this. They just have to make sure that their death is an accident.
That's right. Like the guy we talked about the other week who volunteered for some very... No.
Oh, yeah, dangerous.
Yeah, he volunteered for some risky medical experiment, didn't he?
Right, something like that. Now, it's like this guy that you're talking about, working towards Armageddon, right?
Yeah. Is he
committing suicide by doing this?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Dennis from way downtown with the deep philosophy.
How direct do your actions have to be considered suicide?
I never thought of that. I'm sure Mr. Hagee doesn't think anything like that.
God knows all the chain of cause and effect.
Well, you got to remember, these are the same people who think they can fool a god by Pascal's wager.
By pretending to believe in God.
I don't really believe, but I don't want to go to hell, so I'll say I believe. Oops.
Yes. Oddly enough, I accept Pascal's wager. That's why I have gotten down and said, God, I don't believe in you, but please forgive me anyway.
See, I don't accept Pascal's wager, but in the way of the Master, the section that I haven't actually gotten to yet, where Kirk provides his ultimate, absolute proof of God, he says that there is an absolute proof of God, and all you have to do is get down on your knees and, say this and ask God and really desire Him to show Himself to you, and He will reveal Himself. And at the end of that segment, Kirk says, that's either true or it isn't. And that's the only time in the whole fucking series that I agree 100% with Kirk Cameron. Well, it's true or it isn't. And I can tell you that it's not true for me.
Well, I have had people make that offer to me. Like, I would say, can you give me some kind of objective proof of God? And this is what they always bring up, is like, yeah, get down on your knees and see if you feel different. And my response is always, sure, I'll do that for you. And when nothing happens, you have to admit that this is a disproof of your God. Nobody takes me up on it.
And they have their little out, which is you really have to believe. Well, if it didn't work for you, you didn't really believe enough.
Right.
And also, that's with some doctrines, and with other doctrines, Calvinism, grace is something that God actually gives you. So if you're not one of the elected chosen ones, then getting down on your knees and saying this is completely pointless.
Won't do squat.
Yep.
Which makes me wonder, if you are one of the chosen ones, why would you ever actually have to get down on your knees and say that? I mean, obviously you've already been chosen, so you don't have to do anything you want.
Yeah. Aren't you carte blanche at that point? I mean,
should be. Yep.
That is all these we're kind of assuming that God makes some kind of sense, and I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, skipping most of this article, I'll just skip down to where it says, at a time when Islamist groups are displacing secular nationalists as the main vehicle for political revolts across the Middle East, Mr. Hagee and like-minded evangelicals are injecting greater religious fervor into American attitudes and policy toward the region. They see, and even sometimes seem to embrace, the notion of a global conflict between Islam and the Judeo-Christian West, just as do many zealous Muslims. This is a religious war that Islam cannot and must not win, Mr. Hagee wrote in a recent book, Jerusalem Countdown, which focuses on what he says is a coming nuclear showdown with Iran. The end of the world as we know it is approaching rapidly. Rejoice and be exceeding glad. The best is yet to be. Okay, now first of all, I don't believe in prophecy.
Doesn't make any frickin' sense.
I don't believe in prophecy, so I don't necessarily believe that we're on a fast track to the end of the world. But to the extent that we are, it's because of fuckers like Hagee.
And how does this work?
And this guy should be stopped.
Yes, he should be destroyed. How does it work that... How could Islam win?
Yeah,
everyone dies and the God does his thing. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, he says, Islam cannot win this.
Nations,
what happens if they do? Does God's plan get ruined?
What do puny human nations have to do with Armageddon? It doesn't...
I don't think this guy should be destroyed.
No?
I think this guy and all of his guys should be in the Super Bowl halftime show. Just footage of them standing around dancing and clapping and rejoicing as bombs are dropped from one country to another. Yeah. And hopefully somebody out there who's been maybe sitting on the fence about this religious question will say, holy cow, those guys are insane.
Right. Even people who are, most people are Christians, but most U.S. citizens are probably more moderate Christians. And do they know that there are all these people out there who are happy about the end of the world and trying to help it come about? And are they cool with that?
Apparently so. I don't hear them speaking out against these people.
Are you sure they really understand this?
Well,
I mean,
there's no excuse for them not understanding.
Just your average person in the Gateway Church, for instance, that Matt and I went to.
They read the same news we do.
No, they don't. I think most people don't read the news. Seriously.
Yeah, most of them are watching Fox. Oh, crap, did I say that?
Did I say that out loud? I meant to.
This is seriously something I think is that there are a lot of people out there who just aren't aware of what's going on in the world unless they're right near an election and people are screaming about how one guy likes gay marriage.
Well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Is ignorance of reality no excuse?
And I'm feeling good.